All right, Derek Pang back at you again for another episode of Welcome to the Winner Circle. And today I have a couple of our first guests that Taiha and I have had on this podcast. And I'm excited to introduce you to them. So today I'm going to be interviewing both Cristian Plascencia and Natalie Higby, who are the Durable Athlete team. So just give me a little bit of bio on them. Cristian, he's a durability and performance coach, a certified strength and conditioning specialist, Lululemon ambassador, and fascial stretch therapist. Natalie, she's a former grade 3 school teacher, a former head female coach at On It Gym. She's currently a personal trainer doing small group coaching, a nutritionist, as well as looking after the Durable Athlete brand. In addition to the Durable Athlete brand, Cristian and Natalie have been a part of the NBA Junior at Home team all throughout this past year, as well as doing a lot of work with the Special Olympics. So they're on today to promote their new Durable Athlete app, which just came out, which I'm loving. It's available on the Apple App Store and on Google Play. Welcome to the Winner Circle, Cristian and Natalie.
Thank you so much for having us, Derek.
Thank you.
That was such a great intro. I got chills.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since we last caught up. And before the call, we're just kind of talking about how everyone has been since quarantine. Me here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, we just entered our second complete lockdown and everything's like completely shut down for the next month. So I'm happy I have this app to train with you guys for the next month because things are going to get awfully weird. So yeah, I'm really thankful for this app coming out. It came out at just the perfect time, and I've had the opportunity to dive in there, and I'm loving it. How have you guys been doing since we last talked? We started kind of at the top of this year when this whole COVID situation was kind of unfolding at the beginning. So how have you guys been since we last connected?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Go first.
Okay. Things have been, I would say for the most part, really great for us. There's been some struggles and hard times. And, like you mentioned with the shutdown and everything going on with COVID, I think we both have been missing our families a lot. But as far as our personal life and business goes here in Austin, Texas, we've been doing really well. We've been able to transition to, you had mentioned, like doing online workouts for the Junior NBA. Internationally, we've also been able to connect with the Special Olympics team and work with those athletes, which has been really, really neat for us to experience that. And then we got to really dive into and work on the app that we just recently launched that we had actually been working on for about 1.5 years or so, but it gave us a little more time to work on that, which was a blessing. And then we've also basically been able to train clients at their home or at our house if they feel comfortable and safely. And so we've been able to still do what we love doing and kind of like expand our business even more so. And so a lot has changed since we talked to you last. Like we mentioned, we did release the app, which hopefully people find really beneficial now because there are a ton of things you can do at home with mobility and body weight training, or if you have some tools, we also have workouts in there that require like a med ball, kettlebell, and band right now. Yeah, what am I missing that's been happening?
No, yeah, I would say that's pretty much on on point with like really the principle of since COVID has, taken place and since the first kind of like shutdown, at least out here in Austin, Texas, which was was it April? Maybe?
March and April,
yeah. It's really kind of pushed our business and our day-to-day in the direction that we've always wanted to start transitioning and evolving into, which was not only just having stuff to do, in person, so not just having our in-person clientele, but being able to build out, some online and like, or however you want to call it, virtual coaching or digital coaching. That was something that we had been wanting to do for a while. And so maybe about 1 year and we'll say about 1 year and 3 months ago, we decided we wanted to, have like an online training platform. And so we were with a company called Higby at the time, and we partnered with them. And it was an amazing experience for like that 3 months to really learn and see what it takes to run like a fitness, like digital platform, and like how do we create community and how can we really just make sure that people who are members on the site or on the app are really receiving the value the way that we're trying to promote it and the way we want people to really experience it. But really after about 3 months, it was like, you know what, I think we gained a little bit more clarity with what we wanted to create and how we wanted it to look and how we wanted people to be able to perceive and experience this type of information that we have to share. And that is kind of like where the evolution of us creating the Durable Athlete app, really kind of took like a whole 360. And again, that was about a year ago. Fast forward about, 6 months or so after that, COVID hits. And luckily with the foundation, so us shooting videos, creating a library and having a vision for what we wanted people to see, like that was already laid. So really when COVID happened, it was like, okay, cool. We have a couple more hours to our day where we were usually training people in person. And so let's now put that towards shooting content. Let's now put that towards creating a database and really just trying to create a community online the best way that we can do it.
Beautiful. So let's get into that app. I've had the opportunity to go through there, try out a whole bunch of stuff, and we're just going to go section by section and just kind of discuss why this section was included in the app and why this is important. So one really great thing I enjoy about the app is that it has daily mobility workouts and daily durability workouts. So let's start there. What is a daily mobility workout? What is a daily durability workout? And what differentiates the one from the other?
Cool. I'll start with the mobility real quick. And if I leave anything out, I know Cristian will jump in. So we wanted to, really provide people with we call it like our bread and butter, like what we feel like people come to us most often for, which is, they're having some sort of aches and pains, or they want to learn how to move better so they can prevent aches and pains. And they want to just take into account the longevity of their joints and their tissues. And so, we start every session with a joint by joint mobility practice. We personally start every single day, every morning with a joint by joint mobility practice. And so we wanted to bring that to anybody and everybody. And we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just us like going through the movements, but actually explaining them so people could understand the intention behind them and exactly what we're kind of looking for as coaches and how they can get the most out of each of those movements. And so the daily durability workouts are really things that anybody and everybody can be doing on a daily basis that will only help them. It'll be beneficial for them to connect to their body more on a daily basis, to understand how their body feels on a daily basis, and to ultimately kind of like put more gas in the tank, right? To leave them more energized than when they started. That's the goal of the daily mobility practice. And we've broken it down into some upper body days, some lower body days, and then some full body days. And the cool part about the app is they can save, whichever videos they like and come back to them if some of them feel really good or they're needed a little bit more. And these could also be incorporated into people's programs that they're already following. So if someone's following a strength program and they want to continue with that strength program, they can come to the daily mobility workout and they can implement that into their warm-ups and or their cool downs, or even throughout the workout, some intraset mobility. So it's really the spot where anybody and everybody can come and do that on a daily basis, I would say, for the daily mobility workouts. They're just going to get some really low intensity mind-body connection, working through full range of motion for all of the joints.
Yeah. Yep. And then I would say that really the daily durability workout is maybe a step higher in terms of like intensity. And so a lot of times we'll grade intensity by just our heart rate going up, us sweating a little bit more, us breathing a little bit heavier or at a quicker rate. And so what we wanted to show people, at least for the durability portion, I think maybe we should start with describing what durability means to us in our context. Durability doesn't necessarily mean being the most flexible person, or doesn't mean being a yogi, or it doesn't mean, doing all these types of practices that are going to make you, a better mover. But it's really understanding the goal, right? As us as individuals on a day-to-day, like what do we have to be able to do? What should we be able to do without feeling restricted or inhibited or incapable, right? And a lot of times that comes from us just really not moving, like what Natalie said at the end there with the mobility, not being able to move through like full ranges of motion, right? So not being able to take like our knee past our toes when we're coming down, right? So for example, if somebody can't put their knee over their toes, right, and doesn't understand how to control their ankle in that way, anytime we start bending down towards the ground, right? If we're not able to bend at our ankle, then where are we probably going to use and compensate? And where are we probably going to end up hurting ourselves because we don't ever move in those ranges? And so these workouts are kind of like programmed with that perspective, with wanting to make sure that as you go through these workouts, they're not just here to get your heart rate up and burn more calories, but they're here to make sure that when you're going through your daily functional activities, that your body and your joints have already been put through certain workouts and certain movements. So you've been there before. So you understand, hopefully, what it means to squat to the ground, or to reach and hinge towards the ground, or to lunge somewhere. You'll understand where you should be able to kind of put that tension in your body so that you don't end up, developing these bad habits over time.
Beautiful. So this is particularly beneficial for really any human being. From athletes to the desk worker. So let's talk about the benefits to each. So maybe one of you could speak to the benefits for just kind of the everyday Joe Blow, and then the benefits of this durability and mobility work for the athlete looking to become professional, or the professional athlete themselves.
Yeah. I'll start with the athlete part. Sure. So I would say from an athlete perspective, right, like they have to be able, or they should be training in the off season, pushing their body into like sprinting, into jumping, into cutting, landing, changing direction, like all these like crazy explosive dynamic things. They're going to be doing that during their season, right? And so their training has to be able to resemble that for sure at certain times with the right amount of volume, right? But also, we have to understand is that when they're doing their sport at the highest level that they can do it, they're oftentimes creating imbalances in their body, right? So, for example, a basketball person, or let's say a basketball guy. Let's say it's a right-handed person, right? Somebody who shoots with their right hand. There's going to be a little bit of a discrepancy from shoulder to shoulder, right? Just because of how many times this arm and this shoulder does this one movement, and how many times the other arm just does a completely different movement pattern. So from a longevity perspective, a durability perspective, a mobility perspective, like we have to be able to see that and account for that in their training. So this mobility practice that we have, this joint by joint mobility, is really just making sure, regardless of whatever you do more with your right hand, right foot, right, whatever it may be, we should still be able to move to a certain baseline, a certain threshold. And if you can't, it's not that you failed, but it's basically a clear sign that there's some discrepancy from side to side. And so if we can kind of close that gap a little bit, that is where that might be the difference between, you getting injured and maybe only being out for a couple months, rather than it being a career-ending injury. Or maybe it gives you a couple more years, on the tail end of someone's career to provide for their family. So I think from an athlete perspective, that's where I think we're the big part in having this idea of durability and being able to incorporate like a practice like a daily mobility is super, super important.
Totally. And, for the everyday person, someone who is sitting at their desk or who has a family, I would argue is super similar. It's just they're maybe not performing at that high of a level on a daily or yearly basis, right? But on a daily basis, they're going through different motions. They're playing with their kids. They're sitting at their desk, and they could still have some aches and pains. They can still have imbalances. Maybe they're going through, their training program, and they're suffering from some shoulder pain or low back pain or whatever it is. And maybe they've just never experienced the joint by joint mobility or learning to move their body in a way that's going to be beneficial for them in the long run, right? So I always kind of think about it like, I hope to be as healthy as possible, moving really well, feeling really great when I'm 80 or 90 years old, right? And that's kind of what these are for, and what we want to promote with just the general population is we want to train for longevity. While certain people have, goals that they want to hit right now or maybe in a month, that's great. But these are things that they can practice on a daily basis for the rest of their lives that ultimately are going to help them feel their best and perform their best. And we kind of mentioned it earlier, but we don't want people to feel really run down after workouts. We want them to feel like a little more energized and feel like they can still go throughout the rest of their day, not like super, super sore or super drained from energy. It's like we all have things that we need to perform at on a daily basis. Our jobs, like I said, maybe you go home and you have a family and you've got to take care of that family, and there's just a lot on people's plates. And so we want to provide people a way where they can move and feel better and perform better, no matter what their job is. And we also have in the app, I'm sure we'll get there, but other ways that people can just handle stressors. And I think that's really beneficial for, again, just the regular 9-to-5 person sitting at a desk or that elite athlete. Like we still need to figure out how to deal with those daily stressors. And so that's why we have a lot of things like these down regulation practices and breathing practices within the app.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will get to there. But one thing I like to do with this podcast is to celebrate our guests' wins. So let's celebrate some wins of bringing mobility and durability practice into your personal lives, but also to your clients. So maybe Cristian, you can speak about how attending to your mobility and durability practice has helped you as an athlete, and then also how it has helped athletes you've worked with. Highlight of that, and then Natalie, a highlight of a client of yourself and a client you have worked with.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, I guess just first and foremost for myself, I think it's just super important to stay in practice and something that we're trying to preach to people to do on a daily basis, right? We would be almost hypocrites if we didn't instill that for our own self and explore that for our own self, because I think that's where a part of like coaching comes from, right? Is going through it and experiencing something for yourself. And then so that when you help others, you have some type of context to be able to speak from. So yeah, I mean, I would just say for me personally, like having, like Nat had mentioned in the beginning, like a morning mobility sequence or a morning movement session, whatever you want to call it, for me, it's almost just kind of like preparing myself for that day and reminding myself of whatever it may be, how I want to show up, reminding myself of how grateful I am. It's a second to check in with your breathing. It's a second to check in with your body, which, throughout your day, as you stay busy, chances are you're not really kind of taking that check-in. So even if you don't do it at all throughout the day, you could at least give yourself that one moment in the morning. And I think that is very, very important. And as far as like for other individuals, clients that I've worked with, I think that a biggest thing for them is just being able to feel better. There's something to be said, without any science, without any, testimonials, without any type of like experience, like being able to feel better in your own body, things, whether it be holding less tensions in certain areas or allowing your body to feel as if it's kind of just like holding itself more upright rather than kind of being like in a passive slouching position. Like those are very empowering moments for people. I think that it really kind of gives them the fuel or lights the fuel to like what they need, to kind of just get them on a roll and being a better version of themselves. And so, yeah, I think that that's just like, that's something that often we don't talk about because there's so much other, positive notes to talk about this mobility and what it can do and why it's important. But there's something to be said about just waking up and knowing that you can feel better by something that you instilled yourself, without anybody else or anything else.
Yeah.
And I guess for like, in terms of just like a specific person, I mean, I just kind of think of there's so many different people, so many different athletes, just like this past year during like our basketball program that we host here in Austin, Austin Pro Academy. I feel like, there's already so many kids that we're still staying in contact, regardless if they're overseas or at their respective college, and they're still, practicing a daily mobility practice because they've realized and seen like what it can do for them. And then they've experienced with time without it. And I think it's just something, the thing where like the guys that really take it personal are going to take it upon themselves as a responsibility to instill this, especially if they want to keep performing at a high level every year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Going back to like how this has helped me personally, my mind kind of goes towards the bigger picture of I used to train and think that like it was really hard to take rest days, right? Like I would have some rest days, but it was almost like a mental struggle to let myself relax and take certain days off. And it felt like in order to get better at training, I needed to go harder or faster or heavier, right? And I think that whole mentality is what's really saved my body now. I mean, I don't struggle with the knee pain that I once struggled with, and different little aches and pains. My hips, I've never been very flexible. Like from a young kid playing sports, I was never the flexible one. But I do feel like now I'm more flexible. I'm more mobile. I'm stronger in different ranges. I don't have as many aches and pains. I just feel better. And I've now realized that I can take certain days and just go through a mobility practice that day for maybe 30 to 45 minutes to 60 minutes and not train that day, or take one day to go for a walk, or every once in a while in my training, take a whole week where I kind of just explore body weight movements a little bit more. And I've still been able to progress when it comes to my strength gains and my fitness levels, but I don't feel as beat up. So I would say even just like the mentality of understanding how important recovery is, understanding that when I sleep more, I feel better. Like all those things I think are big wins for me in a world where we always kind of are getting that message to like do more, go harder, go faster, or you're not doing good enough. So that's kind of like the big win for me in my mobility and body weight practice, has been able to like take that step back and see how much it's benefited my mental and my physical health. And as far as clients go, I mean, really just, I have so many, I feel like that have benefited from the mobility and body weight movements. But the biggest one for me is when I have people who can't squat down, or who can't get on and off the ground, right? Or can't go through the things that they want to go through, like go on. I'm thinking of my client Gordon, like he loves to fish and hunt and all this, and he'll come back to me after all those trips. Here we are like a year and a half, almost 2 years later, and he's like, man, I can just get in and out of the boat, and I can walk while we're hunting all day, and like do all these things with ease now, where it used to be a struggle. And that's a big win, to see my clients just able to enjoy life and the things that I think a lot of people take for granted. We were talking to a friend earlier today actually about his journey, and the fact that he's just so grateful that he's even able to lift a 20 or 30 pound kettlebell and move through a shin box, right? And I think a lot of people take that movement for granted. And there's a lot of people out there that don't know what it feels like to just move their body and enjoy movement and feel good, and then go out and be able to enjoy the other things that they want to enjoy in the outside world or with their friends and family. So those are big wins for myself and my clients.
Yeah, thank you guys for sharing. And we'll take a moment now to acknowledge the fact that the movement, the mobility and body weight, is just a fraction of what encompasses the durable athlete. The durable athlete is built upon 4 pillars: sleep, nutrition, breath, and movement. And the mindset is all encompassing. So let's just speak about that, how they all play with one another and how they're all important.
Yeah, I think that it speaks to like the whole purpose and reason why me and Nat even wanted to create something like the durable athlete, is realizing that after 1 hour session in the gym with somebody, even if you see somebody 7 days a week, right, that's 7 hours that you're able to really influence them. It still takes a lot more than that, right? You still have 23 hours throughout the rest of their day, where if they're not maximizing, right, if they're not taking into account their sleep, if they're not taking into account how they're breathing and how they're dealing with stress, and then they're not really worried about sleep, right, and what they're eating or hydrating, then like what good is that 1 hour, right? Like there's still benefit being done with working out for 1 hour for sure, but in the grand scheme of things, right, when we start talking about really making impactful change and really empowering people, right, it goes further than 1 hour. And if somebody is leaning on fitness as a crutch to be able to make them feel as if they're more healthy or more fit, we want to be able to kind of come in and touch them and say, hey, you know what, like, although that is one aspect, it is not everything. And if you're not, putting as much energy into your lifestyle, things outside of your fitness, physical fitness, then we can be kind of, coming up short with our goals without even wanting to, or without realizing it or doing it intentionally. So yeah, I think it just speaks to the holistic approach of that's just how life is. That's how our human body responds and reacts. It doesn't respond in isolation. It responds to the environment that we put ourselves in. So I just think that's always very important. And that's something that we try to harp on with, regardless if it's pro athlete or not, or 9 to 5, it doesn't matter. Like that, the human body is a human body, and so the principles of how it reacts and adapts stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm like, I love that answer. That was great. I just think ultimately, I'll just finish with, it's about us wanting to help people as best as we can, and knowing that all these things I want to say should be integrated to get the best outcome. We just feel like it's our job to help educate people around those and to help them be the best version of themselves that they can be.
Yeah, and the app helps do this. So in addition to the daily mobility workouts, the daily durability workouts, there is a recovery corner. And in that recovery, you guys have videos on active recovery, breath work, and foam rolling. So let's take a moment and discuss that corner.
Yeah. Well, the cool part too, I just want to say that it will continue to get bigger, right? So we will continue to film things. And so there will be lots of tools in there for people. But right now, I think one of the most exciting things personally that we like to share is we'll go to the breathing first. And that's just because breathing is one of the quickest and easiest ways that we can shift our state. And again, in this world where it feels like there's so many things to be stressed about, because there are in our daily lives, basically what we can do that does not cost money is learn how to control our breathing patterns in order to then kind of de-stress, down-regulate the system. And not only does that make us just happier, healthier people, but speaking to what we've been talking about is like, it helps us sleep better, which helps us recover better, which helps us perform better. And all those things that people kind of want, whether it's like aesthetically or performance-wise, learning how to control your breath is beneficial. And so that's one piece of that recovery corner is we have certain breathing practices where we're walking you through it. We're doing it with you. And then there's foam rolling in there as well. I think foam rolling is one of those things where people have a foam roller, they buy a foam roller and they see pictures of it online, but they don't actually really know what to do with it or like how to use it. So we just wanted to provide some tips and things that, again, we do on a daily or weekly basis. So we wanted to provide those instructionals for people. What else is in there?
Just like some of the modified follow along. So I think for, people who are maybe very like physically fit, right, and have been going to gyms for a while or following a program for a while, what we see often gets neglected are like those days in between workouts, right? What are you doing in between those big workouts and intense workouts? And if a lot of times it is something that is like very passive, like sitting on the couch or, binge hours on the couch, right? Nothing wrong with that. We want that rest. We want the recovery. But, if our threshold of intensity is pretty high and what we're doing in the gym is pretty high, we got to be able to complement that with something that isn't so much at 0 and then going up to 100, right? Let's kind of find something that's like 50% or even like 30% of what the intensity that they usually work at. And let's try to find some like a growth in those like lower intensity zones, right? And so that's where we also have some modified follow alongs, really just some follow along active recovery workouts, things that aren't necessarily intense in reps and heart rate, but more along the lines of challenging your ability to control your body. And a lot of times those, the movements might be considered like deep ranges of motion, things that are maybe a little bit more inflexible or tight for people. But again, there's a lot of growth that can happen through that. And that also fits into line with really our whole principle of training, which is this idea of durable or durability, right? Which is being able to understand like, okay, we got to be able to move our body from the ground up. We got to be able to understand how to hinge over, how to bend over, how to grab something, how to carry something, how to lunge, how to squat, how to push and pull and protect our body and not make it feel worse. Those active recovery workouts really just kind of feed into the same principles that complement our like whole system of movement.
Yeah. Great. And then there's another section that talks about another one of your pillars, nutrition, and it's your guys' lifestyle and nutrition section where you guys have tips on breathing, cutting caffeine, eating consciously, being mindful with your food, improving your digestion, the importance of gratitude, and prepping your environment for success. So let's talk about some of your key nutrition principles that you guys lead by example within your personal lives and that you promote to your clients and through your app.
Again, excited to expand this part of the app as well in the future, but we definitely wanted to be able to provide just some, again, like tips that we follow and that we recommend for our clients. And these are things that tend to come up with almost every client. And so when we, as a coach, when you're hearing those same questions all the time, it's beneficial, I feel like, to put it out there what we believe in. And I think what's great about Cristian and myself is we're not dogmatic. We don't believe like, one size fits all. We understand that every single person is different. Their lifestyle is different backgrounds, different trainings, right? Like just a different body, but there are certain things that we definitely believe will be beneficial for them. So, we mentioned hydration, right? Like we will all function better if we are hydrating properly. And that might seem really simple, and especially if you're in this bubble sometimes of the health and fitness world, it seems like everyone understands that. But the more I kind of get outside, and let's say I'm at an airport, for example, or a conference of some sort, it's very common that I see people drinking their sodas and diet sodas and eating the fast food, and that's not terrible, I don't want to say, like if you're doing it every once in a while. But I do think that there's a lot of people who get benefit from just tracking their water and making sure that they're drinking enough for their activity levels and for their body. And that alone could maybe give them an energy boost, and all of a sudden they feel better, and now their workouts are better. And again, it's that whole, like, what am I trying to say? Just like the circle, like everything is interconnected, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be something that's in there. I'm trying to think, we talk about just like digestion and sleep. So we've found often and understand that if you're eating too close to bedtime, sometimes your body then struggles to really relax and decompress, and maybe your heart rate is a little bit higher and it's working to digest food. Whereas if we maybe give ourselves like a 2 to 3 hour window before bed, we can get better quality sleep. And so these are just things that we have experimented with over the years, and things that we have worked with our clients on, and we've seen really great benefits from these little tips. And so while we're not just like giving people a meal plan on the app, like it's not like, hey, follow this meal plan and eat this. It's like these like low hanging fruit things that people can just think about or be more aware about that can ultimately help them feel better, function better, perform better.
Yeah.
Yes. And what I like about the videos is that they're not like too long in length. They're just a couple minutes long. So they're easy to digest, and then you could go implement them. Another great section about the app that I like, and I know Cristian, he produces a lot of like really funny Instagram videos about these, and it's the durable professional. So it's mobility and durability work for someone that sits in a chair all day. What's it you say in your videos? Like, oh, hey there.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I think maybe why we wanted to create a section like that on the app is because there are a lot of people, us included, especially since COVID, where we spend a lot of time at a desk. We get a lot of work done at a desk, and sometimes we're conscious about getting up and walking around and trying to stay kind of actively moving so that we don't sit on a chair for like 6 to 8 hours. But for a lot of people, they think because they don't have an hour to do something at a gym that they aren't really prioritizing their health, right? Or they aren't really prioritizing their fitness. And because they can't do that, well, they're just kind of like in that rut, and they just kind of have to just be the desk person that I guess that's just their life, and that's just what they have to do because that's their profession. When in reality, again, everything that we're talking about, is all combining. It's all connected. Like just because you don't have enough time to go for an hour walk or an hour time in the gym and get a workout in, you can still be doing things at your desk throughout the day that are helping your joints, that is helping your physical health. Right. And again, that's one of the reasons why people like to work out. Is it's healthy. It's good for your physical health. There are implications upon your hormones and certain levels in your blood and certain deals and how your body responds to oxygen. Like there's a lot of benefits with that. And so I think it's important for people to feel as if we can have some low hanging fruit. We can have some wins. Right. And it only needs to be a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And it could be at your desk, which it's a place that people spend more time than not at. So in terms of excuses, we try to just limit the barriers, right? And where are people spending more majority of their time, and just meet them where the clients are at, I guess.
Can I build on that?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. I just want to also say that you'll hear us on social media or with our clients refer to these as mobility snacks sometimes too. And we joke with people, but it's like we want to see people doing these like at the grocery store or in their car. And it's just like, it doesn't have to be that morning mobility routine that takes 5, 10, 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be that hour at the gym like Cristian's talking about. But if you can just start to include these things throughout your day, there is still a ton of benefit there. And so that's what we also want to kind of like teach people is you can just do a couple of these drills, take 1 minute at your desk, you know, every hour, and there's still benefit there. Like, you know, that's, I don't know, bigger picture, what we want to help teach people is that, yeah, a lot can be done in a short amount of time. And it's more of a lifestyle than it is like your hour in the gym.
Yes. And other than the app, you guys have so much other exciting things that you got rolling this year, including your work with the Special Olympics and the NBA Junior at Home. So maybe if we could just take a moment to discuss how you got involved with those initiatives and what you have learned yourselves from working with those two very different populations in comparison to who you're working with at Onnit or with your professional athletes at your basketball camps.
Yeah, I'll speak to at least like the Junior NBA and the Special Olympics, right? Or were those both of them?
Yeah,
those both of them. Okay, I'll talk to the Junior NBA first, and then I'll let Nat talk about the Special Olympics. So basically, that just started through somebody that we met named Vanya through social media. She had reached out to our Durable Athlete page, talking about how she was going to be in the States and she wanted to train and just learn a little bit more about the Durable Athlete and see what that experience was all about. And so, yeah, we had met her on like a Thursday and a Friday. I think myself and Natalie trained her one time, and she like loved it and was hooked. And, you know, afterwards we found out that she worked for the NBA, and specifically the Junior NBA, and how she had the ability to kind of bring us in for different projects. And she did. She ended up bringing us in for some amazing projects, just like what Nat we'll talk about right now, which is like working with the Special Olympics. But nonetheless, we've been able to like impact and create online and at-home workouts for we did it for 2 months, like a whole library of full workouts from start to finish for 2 months. And then we started creating content for like a coach's corner for like coaches within the Junior NBA community that like work with these kids all over the world. So yeah, that was super, super cool. It's been a super cool experience. And then I'll let Nat talk about just kind of the Special Olympics, which kind of stemmed from the Junior NBA.
Yeah. So like Cristian mentioned, we were filming these follow along workouts for the app. And then it kind of transitioned once a lot of places started to kind of like open back up into like online camps that they were doing. And so they brought us in to be a part of those online camps. And there was 1 week over the summer when it was the Junior NBA camp was first, and then they were partnering with the Special Olympics. And so they asked us to be a part of that camp as well. So we had like a 30-minute block between those two camps, and then we would jump into the Special Olympics one. And that's just been really, really neat to connect with that community and to see really it's people of all ages there and different skill levels. And, you know, it's one thing to teach people in person, which is what we do most of the time. And it's another to create content or to coach over the internet and still like get people to buy into what you're doing or enjoy the experience. And so I feel like it's helped us grow as coaches. Although we were comfortable on camera and creating content, it still has been like a great challenge that we've been up for and something we've enjoyed. And yeah, it's just been really cool to work with such a wide variety of clientele through those two programs and people from all over the world. My favorite part is at the end of these camps, a lot of times I'll have everyone like hold up the flag of where they're from. And yeah, again, I get chills. I don't know why, but it's just so cool to see these people from all over the world that we're able to, you know, talk to and work with and have an impact on.
It's so powerful. So from transitioning from coaching to people in person to online, what have you guys learned about how to best deliver programs online versus in person, where it's very different because you have that human to human touch versus the screen to screen? How have you guys successfully transitioned?
I'll say, I think it's helpful that there's two of us, honestly. I mean, we've done it both individually as well, and that works well too. But I do think there's something to be said about being able for one person to like talk and hold space for a little bit while the other person is moving. And then you can come and kind of like point to certain areas of the body, just because when you're not there in person, you're not able to actually like help them, right? Like hands-on help them. And so I think you just have to get really clear on what it is that we are going through, the intention behind it, and then kind of like, again, it's helpful with two people where one person can explain that while the other person is really focused on the movement. Because there's certain moves that we do where like you're not looking at the camera, right? Or your eyes are down, and that can be difficult online when you only have one person. And granted, again, we've kind of learned how to deal with that, but I will say I'm thankful to have both of us oftentimes in there, because I think it's just good. And I think it's good a lot of times for the people listening, because we'll go back and forth. One person will take the warm up, one person will go over the workout. And so there's that, it's maybe not the same voice the whole time, and it gives them a different perspective of someone moving and someone else coaching. So I think that's been cool for us to work together in that capacity too. And we've had to learn how to do that well, but I think we've just been really open-minded to the process the whole time. And so just kind of taking it on, and with a smile, I don't know, we've just been excited about everything. And so I guess that almost makes it easier,
Yeah. Yep. I'd agree.
Yeah.
So the story of this teamwork begun at On It when you guys met, and really connected on the basketball courts. You guys both have a passion for basketball. I'm not exactly sure how far back that was, but just talk about the evolution of your guys' relationship from meeting at On It to working together on the Durable Athlete and as partners.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, when we first met at On It, Natalie was still teaching at the time. She was still a third grade teacher. And I don't know how long was it after that, and until you like stopped teaching and started coaching?
It was like 2 years or so, because because we've been together for 4, and then I just kind of wrapped up like 2 years, just finished out 2 years at On It, a little over. So it's about a year or two fully when I was still teaching, when I was just like a member at On It and kind of taking the certifications and whatnot while Cristian was working there before I started working there.
Yeah. So I mean, basically it went from, her teaching, wanting to get back into coaching, but obviously with a different intention, right? Not just wanting to do, personal training, but wanting to somehow, some way, like encompass like this holistic approach to like someone's health and fitness. And then also understanding that we wanted to push something like online. So I think that from like day one, those were the goals and intentions. And it was just all about, okay, we just know we have to trust the process, so it was from getting our reps in, being On It, 12 hours a day, sometimes more, sometimes, filling up our schedule to really make sure we understand what it is that we're talking about, and really making sure that people are responding the way we think they might, to some of these movements and the mobility and all these like techniques. But then it kind of transitioned into, I guess me going, transitioning away from On It. And then by that time, the Durable Athlete LLC was already created. I guess this was in 2018. So a little bit over 2 years ago. And that is kind of when it was full on, full force. Like, this is what we're going to do. This is what this brand stands for. Natalie was still working at On It up until this year during COVID is when she started to take some time away from there. And really ever since COVID, again, it's just been full steam ahead. I think we've gone from, obviously our romantic relationship, from where it was in the beginning to where it is now, has obviously evolved, because we've now transitioned from doing 2 completely different jobs to doing the same job to working in the same business and on the same business, in the same business. So yeah, I mean, that's tested, I would say, just our ability to be able to cope, just like we tell people, to be able to cope with the stressors. I mean, it's just being able to cope with the ups and the downs, and being able to communicate and consistently communicate upon what each one of us needs, from each other, not just from a business perspective, but at home and romantically. So yeah, communication, a lot of communication.
Yeah, I would definitely say it hasn't been easy the whole way. There's been, times where it's been great, and then times where it feels really hard. And then we've had to just stay, again, open-minded. We've had to be able to communicate with each other, work on communication. And I think you would agree with me. I feel like now we're at a better place than ever. I just think what's really cool now is that we are both working on the Durable Athlete and promoting this thing that we are so passionate about, but we kind of also have our own things within that, so it's we do certain things together, but also on a daily basis. I have my clients and I'm doing my thing, and Cristian has his clients and he's doing his thing. So yes, we run this business together and we do, have to talk about business things and do things together. But I feel like we also have our independence in that. And we kind of each have like our lanes that we want to pursue within Durable Athlete. And I think that's important too, of like each of us having our freedom and that freedom to like express ourselves how we would like to underneath that Durable Athlete umbrella, which is really cool. Yeah.
And another member of your family that you brought into recently was and I hear him running around there, is your dog Mamba.
He's right here. Hold on.
He's sleeping right now, but Nat's see.
Oh, there he is.
We always like to show his face. He's the sweetest.
Yeah. So talk to us a bit about the addition to Mamba at your family, and what have you learned as pet owners and co-parenting this pet together?
Oh my goodness. I think it's the best thing ever. He is a mini Australian Shepherd, so he has lots of energy, but he's also like fairly chill, kind of from the get-go, which I think we've been lucky that he's been so good. I think it really helps with the things we talk about. I mean, we talk about going on morning walks, right? And when you have a dog, especially a dog with a lot of energy, he needs his morning walks. So that's something that's really, really cool. Again, communication needs to be there because our schedules are so different. And sometimes one of us can watch Mamba or take him with us, and other times he might have to be at home a little bit longer. And so definitely having to like parent a dog in that way, I guess. Like oftentimes at night, we're like, hey, what's your schedule for tomorrow? And like, we have to figure out if we need to move something around or for the week or whatever it is, so that he's taken care of essentially. I would say it's been really great. Actually since March and the shutdown, because we've obviously been able to be around him more, which I think a lot of people who have animals are experiencing, is like, if you're at home more, you're around your dog more. And then having clients come to our backyard or going to a client's house, most of them love Mamba and don't mind us bringing him. So it's been really cool to be able to like take him with us to all of our sessions, or if, I'm in the backyard or Cristian has a client in the backyard, Mamba can just hang out with us in the backyard. And so he's like our little Durable Athlete mascot. Everyone loves him. He's super friendly. He loves people. He loves other dogs. And he's just sweet. So I think we like just bond over him all the time of how much we love our dog.
And he makes a lot of appearances in you guys' app. So when you guys get the app and you do some of the videos, you'll see this cute dog in there. In addition to Mamba joining your team, you guys are also adding on coaches. So let's talk about the addition of 2 new coaches to the Durable Athlete, and where you see the Durable Athlete going in the future.
Yeah, definitely. So we've added Joshua Orenstein, and soon, I believe, will be Alexander Pina. So they both live in Austin, Texas. Joshua is a close friend of ours. He as well was working at On It for a while, for maybe about 2 or 3 years, and has recently stepped away as well. And then Alexander is a employee at Lululemon here in Austin, but also does training at Equinox. And I think that they're both in a similar position where they're looking to kind of take the next step in their training, careers and professional careers, and wanting to start building this book of business in a way that allows them to still bring in some income and rely on that as like one of their main sources of income. And so luckily, we have also become so busy with some of the stuff like really for the app and nutrition coaching online, that we need help in being able to just disperse these people and put them in good hands. We don't want to just shoot people to anybody. We don't want to just bring on somebody and make a favorable percentage and just continue to make money that way. Like for us, quality is everything, and making sure everyone feels comfortable is really important. And so luckily we've been able to do that with those 2 coaches, and it's been a really good start. I would say we've been doing it for the last, 3 or 4 months now. And so we'll just kind of see how that continues to evolve. And then I guess going forward, I mean, to be honest, it was never really our goal to ever want to bring coaches as part of the Durable Athlete. It's just something that kind of happened out of necessity. And so obviously, like if that's what is in our calling for going forward, is helping coaches, helping empower, helping mentor them, helping them, with sourcing clients, and then making, ends meet with that. Like, awesome. I know that we would be definitely both open to it and loving to do that. But I think maybe going forward in the future, I think it's just having, this putting more attention into, okay, we're going to continue to help people here in Austin, but how can we continue to build stuff online that has a lot of value and people really feel our energy, instead of just kind of creating a program every month to make a certain amount of money. I think money for us is like, it'll come with time. And realistically, the people who experience our app and really resonate with us are the people that are going to be with us for a long time coming. And so I think it's just for us is seeing how the app and how our content and how we produce it online for people continues to evolve with obviously all the relationships that we have in person as well.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think we have big dreams for Durable Athlete, but I think some of those we don't even know yet, if that makes sense. And it's one of those things where, yeah, you have like growing pains along the way, and you have things that happen that are really great along the way that you didn't expect either. And I think this is kind of one of those things, like bringing on some other coaches, maybe even earlier than we thought. But these are people we really trust and we've worked with. And like Cristian said, you know, we care about quality, and we're just trying to do the best we can with what we have today. And so far that has like served us well and where we're at now. And I think we want to keep evolving as coaches. Like Cristian said, I think we want to keep evolving as better mentors to other coaches. And we want to continue to build really cool partnerships with other companies that we resonate with ultimately as well, and just continue to expand our impact. So we'll kind of see where it goes.
It's great. So as we wind down this interview, because Cristian has to head out to coach at the Austin Pro Academy, which you can talk about briefly in a second. But yeah, as we wind down, let's talk about the importance of the wind down routine at night. And both your guys' initial episodes, which I recommend anyone listening to this to check out. They're both great episodes where we get into your guys' backstories and your hero's journey. So yeah, let's talk about as we wind down this call, the importance of a wind down routine and why it is important.
Yeah, do you want to go? Do you want me to go?
You can start.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's very important that as we get ready for our nighttime and as we get ready for our sleep, that we give ourselves, our mind, our body every opportunity to be able to fall into that, you know, deep sleep and that relaxing sleep that we need to be able to adapt and recover every single day, right? So yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's probably one of the biggest, what we would think like low-hanging fruits, one of the biggest things that people can change and immediately see a positive impact in their life. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess for us, what that looks like is, you know, blue blocking glasses, right? Like towards the evening time, really trying to limit the amount of artificial light that we expose to our body. We try to limit, you know, when we stop, you know, when we have our last meal and last food. But then also just, you know, making sure that, you know, maybe we take a second to become mindful of our breath, and maybe we just kind of, you know, take a second to just breathe for like 3 or 4 minutes, you know, as slowly and as lightly as possible. Yeah, I would say, I mean, those are just things that we would implement. You know, some nights we'll move on the ground and do some movement. It's just really important to just down regulate as you get ready to go to bed at night, you know?
Yeah, I would just add, I think oftentimes people aren't even aware of like the inputs that they're putting into their body and how that affects the output, right? And so for example, like having bright lights on, having the TV up loud and bright, and just continuing to work into the evening, which, you know, obviously sometimes it happens, but if there's things we can do where we can like help kind of like cue our body to start relaxing, especially when the sun goes down, you know, then ultimately that can lead to better quality sleep, which again, we come back to leads to more energy the next day, probably a better mood. You know, it's like your reset button for hormones at night, and like fills that battery back up. Sleep is just so important that, yeah, if we're just running around, not paying attention to all these things, and we're going to bed really stressed, and then we're struggling with sleep, like that's not good. So we just want to kind of give people tips and tools that will help them down regulate and essentially like, let's calm down, let's get ready for bed. And our body benefits from that, you know, when we just give it that space to relax and focus on the breath and all of that. So
sleep, nutrition, breath, and movement, an all encompassing program, the Durable Athlete brand. And that's available in your guys' app, which if you download on Apple App Store or Google Play, there's a 14-day free trial. And then it's either a monthly fee or an annual fee. They can find you on IG, Cristian, at Cristian G. Plascencia. They can find Natalie at natalie.higby, the Durable Athlete at the Durable. They can just link there. It's like _. Yeah, they can find link there from your guys' profiles. Durableathlete.com. You also have the Austin Pro Academy, which you're headed to right now. So Cristian, if you just want to speak a bit about that, where they could find information on that program and anywhere else I didn't mention.
Yeah, totally. So the Austin Pro Academy is just a basketball skill and performance academy that myself and my partner Zach Urban Noose started out here in Austin, Texas. And so it's really just taking elite and high level basketball players, everyone from high school to professional, and putting them through an hour of training with me and then an hour of training on court with Zach. And it is by far the most comprehensive, training program that I've ever come across, just because myself and Zach try to integrate the process and the transition from court to weight room as seamless as possible. So it's the best experience for them. So yeah, that's where I'm headed right now. I'm actually headed to go work with just one guy, an NBA guy. It'll be his last day in town before he has to go off to Miami to go off with his new team. But yeah, I mean, actually, if you're not in Austin and you're a basketball player or interested in a basketball training program, myself and Nat, we're working on putting the programs that I've run this summer on the app so that athletes will have access to training programs on the app as well.
Mm-hmm.
And anywhere else they could find you other than the places I listed, Nat?
Yeah, probably just like my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, I would just say. Yeah.
I just want to throw it out there. If anybody is a subscriber, if you download the app and join the team essentially in the community, to find our private Facebook group, Durable Athlete App private Facebook group, so I can include you into that close community where you have access to, again, myself and Cristian on a daily basis. So that would be a great spot to find us on Facebook. If you're an app subscriber, you get access to that community, which is great. Other than that, it's mainly Instagram for us and our website.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Any last closing words of advice for the listening audience?
Man, stay durable, keep breathing, keep eating good food, and make sure you sleep enough at night.
Yeah.
Basically. We usually sign off with stay durable or don't forget to breathe.
All right. Well, like we close all episodes, let's raise our fists, bring it in for a digital fist bump.
Yes.
Stay durable, y'all. Thanks for joining, Cristian and Nat.
Later.
Thank you.
Later.